major approaches to personality. There have been many theories and approaches which have tried to explain that why do people they differ from each other, and these can be classified under various approaches. You have the type approach, then the trait approach, psychodynamic approach, behavioral approach, cultural approach, and humanistic approach. Let us begin with these approaches one by one in order to understand them better. The first approach, as you can see here, is the type approach. Let us start with the type approach. What is a type? Type approach means that they are examining the broad patterns in the observed behavioral characteristics of individuals. In order to understand this definition better, let us understand the contributions made by various people to this particular approach. The Greek physician Hippocrates, he said that the typology is based on humor or the fluid inside the body. So he classified people into 4 types: sanguine, phlegmatic, melancholic, and choleric. Sanguine people are normally very happy and contented, very positive. Phlegmatic people are a little sluggish. Melancholic people are sad and tragic, whereas choleric people are bad-tempered. Then Charaka Samhita or Ayurveda, it has classified the people in the categories which is known as Vat, Pith and Kapha. These are the 3 humoral elements present in the body which are known as the Tridosha. The typology of Trigunas. Trigunas, as you know already, it is Sattva Gun, Rajas Gun and Tamas Gun. Sattva Gun people, they are characterized by being truthful, disciplined, dutiful. Rajas Gun deals with gratification, dissatisfaction and always striving for materialistic desires and having that particular type of mentality. Whereas the Tamas Gun, it is characterized by anger, depression, arrogance and laziness. Sheldon proposed typology basically on the basis of body build and temperament. He had classified people into 3 types: endomorphic, who are fat, soft and round in their body build and relaxed and sociable in their nature. Mesomorphic, they are strong and they have a very stiff musculature. They are energetic and courageous. Ectomorphic are thin and fragile, introvert as well as brainy and creative in nature. Jung has classified the people into 2 types: introvert and extrovert. Introverts, as you know, they tend to be shy, withdrawn, alone and keeping to themselves, whereas extrovert people are very sociable and outgoing. The next typology has been given by Friedman and Rosenman. They have classified people into type A and type B, whereas type A people are highly motivated, lack patience and they're always in a great hurry. They want to finish off their work in time. They feel that time is running short. But such people, mind you students, are vulnerable to hypertension and coronary heart diseases. Type B are those people who have the absence of type A. Morris has given type C and type D also. Type C people are prone to cancer, whereas type D people are prone to depression. Coming to the next approach, which is called trait approach. Before I begin with the contribution of the various people who are psychologists who have given explanations to this approach, I would like to explain what is meant by trait. Trait, unlike the type, is a very specific psychological attribute on which individuals differ in stable and consistent ways. A trait is a relatively enduring attribute on which individuals differ from each other. Let us understand the trait approach better by the following theories. The first one is Gordon Alpert's theory. He has given the traits into three categories: cardinal, central, and secondary. Cardinal traits are highly generalized dispositions. For example, Mahatma Gandhi and his mission on non-violence. Similarly, Hitler, Nazism. Then we have the central trait. They are quite generalized dispositions used for normally writing a testimonial or recommending somebody for a job. For example, you say that the characteristics are warm, sincere, dutiful. They are happening to be a part of the central trait. Secondary traits are the least generalized characteristics. Like, for example, I love a particular fruit. That is my secondary trait. The next theory was given by Catel's personality factor. Catel's personality factor theory classifies the traits into two types: source trait and surface trait. The source traits are the building blocks of personality, whereas the surface traits occur because of the interaction between the source traits. Students, I would like to state here that Cattell, he had used factor analysis as a statistical technique to identify 16 traits, and he has developed a test which is known as 16 Personality Factor Questionnaire or 16 PF questionnaire. Next we come to the Eysenck's theory. H.J. Eysenck has classified the people under three dimensions. The three dimensions are neuroticism versus emotional stability, extroversion versus introversion, and he proposed a third dimension which is called psychoticism versus sociability. Now, neurotic people are those, under the first dimension, neurotic people are those who are not very emotionally stable. They are very moody, you are not able to predict their temperament, whereas emotionally stable people keep themselves in complete emotional stability throughout their life. Extroversion, I already explained, extroverts are outgoing people, whereas introverts are withdrawn people. And psychoticism and sociability. This is the third dimension which was added by Eysenck. The psychodynamic approach. This approach owes to the contributions of Sigmund Freud. Sigmund Freud had proposed two techniques, free association and dream interpretation, in order to understand the internal functioning of mind. Students, we will take up these techniques in chapter number 5 when we are doing psychodynamic therapy. Sigmund Freud visualized human mind in terms of three levels of consciousness. One is conscious, the other is called preconscious, and the unconscious. Let me tell you what is meant by conscious. Conscious means thoughts and feelings of which one is aware of. For example, right now you are conscious that you are studying in the class or you are looking at this video. Preconscious is the mental activity that people are aware only if they attend to it closely. Then we have unconscious. It is a mental activity that people are completely unaware of. Well, Freud focused on the concept of unconscious. Unconscious is a reservoir of instincts and animal drives. It stores the ideas and the wishes which are shielded from the conscious awareness. He has also understood the structure of personality in terms of three components: id, ego, and superego. Id is the source of instinctual energy. It seeks immediate gratification of desires and aggressive impulses. It works on pleasure principle. Id is raw, it is animalistic, and it seeks pleasure and avoids pain. Ego, on the other hand, we have come across this word number of times. It satisfies our instinctual needs and grows out of the id. It works on reality principle. For example, there's a boy who wants an ice cream. Well, his id will govern him to behave in a manner that he snatches the ice cream because it is governed by instincts. However, an ego will tell him that grabbing the ice cream is wrong and it will direct him to seek the permission. Superego. This is known as the moral branch of mental functioning that works on morality principle. This principle emphasizes on internalizing parental authority through the process of socialization. The same boy who wants the ice cream will ask the mother for the ice cream and he will come to know that his behavior is morally correct. Freud gave the concept of ego defense mechanisms. Ego defense mechanisms, students, they are the way of reducing your anxiety by distorting reality or presenting reality in a different form. The first ego defense mechanism is repression. Repression means where anxiety-provoking behavior are totally dismissed by the unconscious. You must have heard people saying, I don't know why I did that. This is called repression. Next we come is projection. People attribute their traits to the others. For example, if a person has a strong aggressive tendency, he may see the other people as acting in an aggressive manner. Denial. People totally refuse the reality. For example, if a person has contracted a serious illness, he may refuse and say that no, I'm perfectly alright. I don't have a serious illness. Reaction formation. You are adopting a behavior opposite to your true feelings. For example, a person may be criminal minded or may have a strong sexual urge. However, that person will adopt the role of a spiritual leader. Rationalization. It is to make unreasonable feelings or behavior seem reasonable and acceptable. Well, we do this in everyday life, don't we? For example, a student may not have performed well in the exam. Next time he gets a new set of pens and says, I can do better with these set of pens. Similarly, when we go for an interview and we get rejected, we say that I did not like that particular office or I did not like that particular sector. So this is called rationalization. Now let me focus upon the stages of personality development as given by Sigmund Freud. He has divided the various stages of our life into 5 psychosexual stages: oral stage, anal stage, phallic stage, latency stage, and genital stage. Oral stage, primarily present in a newborn. The mouth is a pleasure-seeking center and the child seeks to have oral gratification through feeding, thumb-sucking, babbling, etc. Anal stage happens between 2 to 3 years. The child learns to respond to societal demands. The parents toilet train the child so that they can control these bodily functions of urination and defecation. Phallic stage happens to be a very, very interesting stage. It happens between the age group of 4 to 5. This stage focuses on genitals, where children realize the differences between the male and the female. The male child experiences Oedipus complex, that is, love towards the mother and a fear of punishment by the father. The resolution of this stage takes place only when the child accepts the father's relationship with the mother and then he models his behavior after the father. Likewise, it happens in the case of girls also. It is called Electra complex. The girl attaches love with her father and she symbolically marries him and raises the family. Later, the child identifies with the mother and tries to copy her behavior. So that is called the phallic stage. Latency stage, it happens from 7 years till puberty, where the child's energy gets channelized into social and achievement related activities. The genital stage happens puberty onwards, where the person attains maturity. They learn to deal with the members of the opposite gender in a very socially and sexually mature way. Now I would like to focus upon the terms of fixation and regression. What is meant by fixation? Fixation, here the child's development gets arrested at a very earlier stage. For example, if the child is not able to pass through the phallic stage, fails to resolve any of the complexes, and still may have a very hostile feeling towards the parents of the same gender. So such a boy may come to consider that men are generally hostile, or similarly girls may consider females to be hostile. Regression. Regression is a likely outcome in this situation where a person is taken back to an earlier stage, and this happens when a person's resolution of problems at any stage of development is less than adequate. Now, Freud had his contemporaries who were known as the Neo-Freudians or the post-Freudian approach. These theorists have been called neo-analytical theorists as they give less importance to the aggressive tendencies of id and expansion of the concept of ego. The first Neo-Freudian that we are going to discuss here is Carl Jung, whose theory was known as aims and aspirations, and he has developed his own theory of psychology which is called analytical psychology. He said that there is something which is called collective unconscious that constitutes archetypes or primordial images like God, Mother Earth, which are found in mythologies and dreams. Next we have Karen Horney. She gave the concept of optimism. Karen Horney proposed a view that most of the psychological problems happen because of disturbed interpersonal relationship during childhood. If the child has a bad relationship with the parent who is very indifferent towards the child or very discouraging towards the child, then the child develops basic anxiety and resentment towards the parents. By showing excessive dominance, also the parents can generate feelings of helplessness among the children, and this interferes with their personality development. Alfred Adler gave the concept of individual psychology, and he assumed that our goals in life should be purposeful. Our personal goals are the source of our motivation. So he gave the concept of lifestyle and social interest. In Adler's view, every person suffers from inferiority complex, which arises in childhood, and it is very important that children should be encouraged to overcome this inferiority complex for a healthy personality development. Erich Fromm gave the concept of human concerns. He said that psychological qualities like growth and realizing one's potential or capability results from the desire for freedom, justice and truth. Erik Erikson, we have already done this in class 11. He gave something which is called identity crisis, or an adolescent in search for identity. Well, at home also, sometimes your parents may be saying that you are not so mature to take decisions on your own. And on the other hand, if you behave childishly, they will say, grow up. So you are not able to understand where do you lie. This is called search for identity. So this concept of identity crisis, which is happening in adolescent age, drew a lot of attention. And he argued that young people, if they generate certain perspectives for themselves or a goal for themselves which is meaningful, then in that case they can get as purpose in life. Okay. Psychodynamic theories, they have been criticized because of certain reasons. Number one is that they are based on case studies, and they have used only a very small group of population or typical individuals, to generate their results. The concepts are not properly defined, and Freud mainly used males, as a representative of all human personality development, and he overlooked the female experiences and perspectives. So with this, we come to an end to the psychodynamic approach. The behavioral approach. The behavioral approach does not give importance to the internal dynamics of behavior. The behaviorists are those people who feel that data should be definable, observable, and measurable. So they focus upon the stimulus-response connections. Response is called the structural unit of personality, and personality can be best understood as the response of an individual to the environment. So response is a behavior which is emitted in order to satisfy a specific need. In class 11th students, you must have studied about the various theories of classical conditioning by Pavlov, instrumental conditioning by Skinner, and observational learning by Bandura. All these theories, they view learning as well as behavior from different angles, and the principles of these theories have been widely used in developing the personality theories. For example, observational learning considers that thought processes are extremely important in learning, but they do not find any place in classical conditioning or instrumental conditioning theories. It emphasizes on observation, which is based on imitation of others and self-regulation. Coming to the next approach, which is called cultural approach. This approach studies the personality in relationship to ecological and cultural environment. Now, the climatic conditions of a place, the availability of food, the flora as well as the fauna not only determine the person's economic activities, but also they determine other features like social patterns, social structures, division of labor, and child rearing practices. It is said that the person's skill, abilities, behavioral styles, etc. are strongly linked to the kind of culture in which they are reared. Coming to the next approach, which is known as the humanistic approach. The humanistic approach were mainly developed by Carl Rogers and Abraham Maslow. Carl Rogers, he focused upon the relationship between real self and ideal self. Carl Rogers said that every individual is a fully functioning person, and people try to express their potential and talent to the fullest possible extent. Every person has a concept of real self and ideal self. When there is a correspondence or complete unison between the real self and ideal self, the person is generally happy. But if there is a difference between what you are and what you want to be, then in that case it can lead to unhappiness and dissatisfaction. People tend to maximize their self-concept through self-actualization. So he has emphasized on the role of self-concept and recognized that social influences do help in the development of self-concept. Another situation which he has given is that of unconditional positive regard, which has to be created in order to ensure that the people maintain their self-concept and enhance it. Coming to Maslow's contribution. Well, Abraham Maslow's contribution is not unknown to us, or it is not unfamiliar to us, because we have already done it in class 11 in the form of theory of hierarchy of needs. Maslow has given a detailed account of the psychologically healthy people in terms of their attainment of self-actualization, that is the stage where people have reached their fullest potential. He had a very optimistic view and positive view of human beings, and he said that man has the potential for love, joy, and to be creative. So self-actualization is possible only by analyzing the different motivations that govern our life. You must be remembering that various typology of needs, which include the biological needs, the security needs, belongingness needs, then esteem needs, and finally self-actualization. So A human being normally begins with his journey, or the real journey, when he follows his self-esteem and self-actualization. With this, we complete the major approaches to personality.